Greetings, time-traveling troublemakers. You thought history was a snooze fest of dates and dead guys? Wrong. It's drier than a mummy's bath towel in a tomb with no humidity control. But I, your humble and slightly unhinged host, am here to blow the dust off the past and reveal the real story, the one they don't want you to know. Because let's be honest, history is just a never-ending parade of bad decisions, questionable hygiene, and people trying to invent things that already exist. So buckle up, buttercups, because today we're cracking open Wacky History Records. I'm History Chronicles, your guide to the historical underbelly where the absurd reigns supreme. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew. Let's unleash the wacky. Alright folks, grab your earplugs and your best. I'm trying to appreciate experimental music face because we're diving into the deep end of musical history. Our ancestors got creative with seashells as instruments. Yes, seashells, those beach finds. They held full-blown concerts with them. Imagine the cacophony of a seashell symphony. Now we all know the Romans were a stoic bunch. They built empires, wrote poetry, and invented plumbing. But even these masters of composure had their limits, especially with their favorite blood sport, gladiatorial combat. They loved watching fights but had empathy for the losers. Public displays of grief were common. Wailing, rending of garments, the works. Can you imagine the emotional support groups, the trauma bonding? Alright, let's talk about communication breakdowns, shall we? Because nothing says lost in translation quite like a royal decree that ends with half the kingdom wearing cheese on their heads. Picture this, a royal decree written in fancy Latin gets passed down the chain of command, from nobleman to knight to, well, let's just say the local village idiot who moonlights as the town crier. This poor soul, bless his heart, squints at the parchment, sees the word caseus, Latin for cheese, and thinks, right, the king wants everyone to wear cheese as hats. And because nobody questions authority in a feudal system, the next thing you know, the entire village is sporting some seriously funky headwear. I'm talking cheddar fedoras, brie berets, and maybe even a rogue gorgonzola helmet. Ah, the Crusades. That centuries-long historical saga that involved a whole lot of fighting, very little Holy Land actually being recovered, and some truly epic excuses for getting out of going. Because let's be real, nobody wants to sign up for a 1,000-mile journey with questionable sanitation and a high probability of getting stabbed in the name of, well, anything really. So, what did our medieval counterparts do? They got creative. We're talking excuses so ridiculous, so outlandish, they'd make a modern-day dog-eat-your-homework story look like Pulitzer Prize-winning journalism. People were probably faking plagues, claiming alien abduction, sudden-onset narcolepsy, anything to avoid a long boat trip and a pointless holy war. The Victorians, masters of repression and the stiff upper lip, were also obsessed with death and contacting the afterlife. They wrote novels about it, wore black for years, and took photos with deceased loved ones. They tried contacting the afterlife through Ouija boards, table rapping, and seances. Some even believed they could communicate with the dead through tea. The Victorians were nothing if not imaginative in their quest to chat with the afterlife. And finally, let's talk about a quest that has plagued humanity for centuries: the elusive self-folding umbrella. Long before we were trying to fold fitted sheets or assemble IKEA furniture, our ancestors were grappling with this most vexing of engineering challenges. Despite their best efforts, the self-folding umbrella remained a mythical beast, a unicorn of the rain gear world. Every so often some intrepid inventor would claim to have cracked the code, only to unleash upon the world an umbrella that folded in on itself like a dying spider, or worse, launched itself across the room like a medieval projectile weapon. And that, my friends, is just a tiny glimpse into the wild, wacky, and unbelievably weird world of historical records. We've explored seashell symphonies, gladiator fan clubs, cheese hat decrees, and the eternal quest for the self-folding umbrella. What's the most absurd thing you've ever heard about the past? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for new material. Because let's be honest, history is far too long and strange to take seriously all the time. If you enjoyed this journey into the historical deep end, smash that subscribe button. Because history is always better when it's served with a side of absurdity.